My name is Gavin Healy and I'm from a company called Viridian Media, and I'm working at the moment on a project with the New Zealand Herald called Element. Now the basic idea is to create a media campaign that will change people's minds around the concepts of health and sustainability. But before I want to get into that, I just want to talk about what Viridian Media is. Now Viridian Media is a social marketing company, so that means we're designing media to have social behaviour, positive changes to social behaviour. So that's what we're trying to do, and using media to do that. So the simplest versions of that would be like drink driving ads, that over time, after a while, you stop driving and drinking and driving because it's something that you know you shouldn't do. So that's media being used to actually make a positive difference. So it's our goal basically to reconnect people with the planet and the elements. Now I know this sounds a bit weird, but the elements are the most important things that we have on this planet. Like we need water, air and soil more than anything else, and they're the three main elements along with fire. So the fourth element, fire, is the one that we're really misusing at the moment, and it's polluting all the other elements. But one of the key things in Ireland, we also have a fifth element, so it's a very ancient thing, but our fifth element was spirit. And this is something that we're really lacking in our modern society, is having that connection with spirit, because spirit is our moral compass. It's the thing that points us in the right direction. And from a business perspective, if we start to bring spirit into business, we have a completely different outlook on how we run those businesses. We quickly see that our business practices are not just influencing people, but they're changing the planet we live in, and they can either be positive or they can be negative. So if you can get a business that runs with these five elements working together in harmony, you're going to be extremely successful. Now we're going to go talk through this. We're going to show how media is used to create change, and we're also going to show how media is used to create addictions and cure addictions. Perceptions of reality. If we look back into the 60s, here's a smoking campaign where they used a doctor to make people think that smoking was okay and that there was a problem with the science. There's absolutely no problem with the science. They knew there wasn't, but they thought money was more important. So maybe they had their own kind of addiction problems going on. This is a modern ad that shows the reality of smoking. Not only can you not smoke in a house, you can't smoke in a car because the toxins are so bad that they go into the car's materials and will actually hurt your children. So in this advert, you have a child with a plastic bag over its head made of the smoke, and the child is screaming because it's smothering. Now, these are two campaigns that are, one is making the addiction happen and the other one is curing the addiction. So media can be used for both things. It can be used to make an addiction continue, or it can be used to stop an addiction. And there's loads of cases of this. We can see it all over the world, how media is creating change or how it's making negative things happen. So if we look at this is an addiction campaign in the States tackling meth. It's a really gnarly one. So this shows young people beating up an old man, and it says beating an old man for money isn't normal, but on meth it is. So it shows that when you've got an addictive behavior habit, your normal reality changes considerably, and what you think is okay absolutely isn't. Here's another one which is really, really heavy. So 15 bucks for sex isn't normal, but on meth it is. So it has a young girl who's obviously selling herself to make a few dollars so she can get high. Now, you have to be addicted to do these things, okay? And if we look at addiction, it's basically as compulsive behavior even in the face of appalling consequences. So that's what an addictive behavior is. And it's widely accepted now that addiction isn't just substance abuse, it's behavior changes as well. So you can get addicted to a behavioral thing, it doesn't have to be a substance. So addicts are victims of culture. This is also a new thing that's coming out now in social science. So to say that you can be born with an addiction habit, or you can be a bit more skewed towards that addiction, but you need the right environment to really develop that addiction. So if you're in the right environment, you can develop an addictive behavior habit even though you're not an addict. Now this is where media plays a really important role, because media has such a huge influence on culture. So if we have a media that is constantly saying what we need is more money, we need more of this, the environment isn't important, what we need is to make more money, we believe that that is the norm, that is right, but it's not. That's an addictive behavior habit, because money is not more important than the long-term survival of our species, and that's where we are at the moment. That's the perceived reality that we have. So one of the things they learned very early on, especially back in the 60s with these tobacco campaigns, was a thing called cognitive dissonance. And it's basically a psychological theory that shows how easy it is to stop an addict from changing. So What it basically is that beliefs and values must be the same, and if they're not, it causes stress in your mind. So your mind automatically wants to reject the information that creates stress for you. So it's very easy for you not to believe something, and it's very easy for us in the media to make you not believe in something. So if you have a situation where reality and what you're doing is causing conflict, there's 4 things that your mind wants to do. The first one is reduce the importance of the actual conflicting belief. The second thing is you acquire new beliefs that are more closely aligned to your behavior habits. The third thing is you completely remove the conflicting beliefs. So I don't have an addiction problem, I'm absolutely fine. I can keep drinking, I can keep smoking, I can keep doing whatever I want. You convince yourself that that's the truth. And that's the thing that addicts always slip back into again. Now the fourth thing is you remove the conflicting behavior habits. Now that's what we want to try and achieve with these social marketing campaigns. We want people to realize that they have an addiction problem and that they need to change. But what everyone's understood for a very long time is that you only need the tiniest bit of doubt to make an addict not believe. You know, so we've designed campaigns back from the 60s to create doubt around addiction problems. And they're well documented. It's a well documented system and it works. So here's another advert from the States, and it shows a guy snorting off a gambling table to say that this is just as addictive as cocaine. So gambling is just as addictive as cocaine. Now, this is a behavior habit, it's not a substance, but it's just as addictive, it's just as destructive. So we're going to quickly look at the signs of addiction. So the first thing, you're unable to meet your responsibilities. Well, we're all making so much money at the moment that we think that's more important than our children's future, so we're not meeting our responsibilities. The need to increase becomes overwhelming. Our entire culture is based on this idea that we need to get more and more and more. Obsession about the addiction. All we talk about is money and how we can get more money. Lies, dishonesty and greed become normality when you're an addict. That is normal for us. This is what we do to make money. We will do whatever it takes. And this is quite an interesting one. You get aggressive and defensive when approached about the problem. How many people do you talk to who you think are quite normal, and you talk about climate change and you approach them about it and they are aggressive in the response towards you in a kind of unusual way? It's an addict's response because you're breaking their illusion of what the world is really all about. And then you've got denial defense mechanism. This is quite interesting. Addicts believe their own denial to the extent that when you confront them about it, they think they're telling the truth because the truth is so lost inside them. It's such a huge thing for them to actually accept the truth that they will do anything but accept the truth until they reach rock bottom. Now, distorted priorities and delusional realities is also a major thing about an addict. You believe that you will create your own reality rather than deal with the truth. And unfortunately, this continues even in the face of self-destruction, which is what we're doing at the moment as a society as well. We're prepared to keep making money even though that we know within 100 years' time, the children that live on this planet are going to really struggle to survive. But we think making money right now is more important. That's not normal. Unfortunately, with most addicts, we have to reach rock bottom before we actually realize that we have a problem that we come to terms with. Now, rock bottom for us will be the biggest cull of humanity that we've ever seen. It's environmental upheaval to this that we see on films. Like, it's really devastating stuff, and we know this is going to happen if we don't change. So the reality of the situation that we live in at the moment is that modern society shows all the signs of addiction. And we're addicted to money, and we're actually creating this false reality because we think money and profit is more important than anything else. We actually think it's more important than the long-term survival of the species and the health of the biosphere. Now that's insane. That is a delusional reality. That's not real. So, according to this theory, and this is where it gets quite interesting, the worst addicts are also the most powerful and most influential. They are going to do whatever they can to create more profit because they believe that's all there is. And that's where this gets really tricky, because you're talking about 1% of society who are making all the money, and the 99% who I'm going to show you in a second who are actually paying for all the damage that these people are creating. So I think we're living in a delusional reality because we think money is more important than human life. So since the financial crisis, the money that was put into that financial crisis would have completely resolved third world poverty for generations. And it's just a drop in the ocean. It's only the start to fix the financial problem. It's not the end of it. So obviously money is more important than life. Honesty. So the subprime acids bubble that caused the whole downturn in the first place were highly insecure acids which were given AAA ratings to say that they were highly secure. Now, in other words, these were loans given out to people who they knew could not actually afford to repay the loans, but that the houses would be worth more when they repossessed them. That was the strategy. But the thing was, they took something that was highly insecure, made it AAA ratings, and they ran it up, I think it was to $9 trillion and sent it globally. And that's what caused the crash. That's the core of it. Pure and utter greed. So good government as well is another thing that we think money is more important, because we pay for our politicians, especially in the States, we pay for our politicians to get into power. Then when they get into power, they change legislation, and that's why they paid us to get in there in the first place. But the really wacky one in the States is that when you get into power, you can actually invest in the companies before you make the legislation changes. So you can say, we're going to invest $1 million in this business, then we're going to change it so that business goes to make billions of dollars. You can actually do that. So that shows that money is actually paying for our political systems. And that's not right. That just isn't right. Now, this is what Occupy wanted to actually sort out. That was the one thing that they really wanted to get changed. And globally, as soon as the Occupy movement came out, they said, these people don't know what they want. They don't know what they want. Everywhere, all over the world, the media said the same thing. And everyone repeats that. Oh, they don't know what they want. They know exactly what they want. They want to decouple commercialism from politics, the same way they did with state and church. They don't work. They need to be separate. So on the biosphere, so we actually think that climate change is a figment of the scientists' imagination, because if we have to deal with that, we have to change our own belief systems around money, and we're not going to do that. So we also have to change one of the most financially viable industries of all time, which is oil. So for us to change our current reality, we need to change the oil industry, and we need to change what money means. Now, those people are going to stop at they're going to stop everything we put in front of them. They're going to try and stop everything we put in front of them. And we need to be aware that we are really fighting a very powerful elite who want to continue this delusional reality that we're living in. So profit at all costs. This is an ad that I love, and it just shows fake science that was made by the tobacco industry to convince people that there was no problem around the science, when we all knew that there was a problem around the science. It was proven in 1964, and it took 2 decades before people actually did something about it, because they paid for phony science, they made all these campaigns, and they completely deluded people to the truth. So it took absolute decades before they came to realize what was going on, and this is a set strategy. It's not something that just happened. A whole lot of people sat down with an awful lot of money and they came up with this strategy. It was a guy called Dr. Frederick Seitz, and he's the founder of the Marshall Institute. It's an enormous PR lobby machine designed to create doubt. It's enormous. Now, in the Bush administration, when he was going to be elected, the Marshall Institute was used around that to actually discredit Al Gore and the science behind climate change again. So now they're focusing on climate change. They're using the exact same strategies they did with the tobacco industry. So all this phony science, all this information, and they're creating doubt around scientific evidence when there is no doubt. But people are believing it. And once again, it's taken us decades to come to terms with that. So this is one in particular which I found quite hilarious. It was a story that ran in the Wall Street Journal from 16 scientists who were all, or majority of them, were paid by ExxonMobil, and that was according to The Guardian, that there was no need to panic about climate change, that it was all a figment of our imagination, that they gave all these different theories which were not real. And it didn't take long for people to say, this isn't real, this was debunked 20 years ago, you're putting it out in the media. By the time we came back with a response that had been all over Fox News, all these scientists had gone out with these massive messages, they'd reached millions of people to say, climate change isn't real, you don't need to worry about it, no need to panic. And the response, to tell the truth, was tiny in response. So they keep doing this, and they keep winning, so we need to fight back. So the one thing though which was hilarious is that they claimed that the world had not heated up in 10 years. Now all the scientific evidence from NASA shows quite clearly in satellites that the world is heating up at an enormously fast rate. So this is research from NASA, and the graph here shows how quickly the temperature is rising. The one here shows how quickly the ice is melting. This is what the Arctic looks like, where the yellow thing is, and this is how much it's shrunk. Now the heat is so extreme at the moment in the Arctic region that the size of New Zealand is melting every single day. And this is basically an air system for the the entire planet. It keeps the planet cool. Once this goes, the effects of heat are really going to start speeding up at a huge rate. Now, if you want to see the truth, you go and look at this satellite information that they have on the NASA website. They have a thing called a climate machine that shows it from the 60s to today and shows all the heat and where it's happening. And then the scary bit, the predictions of where we're going to go to, not in 100 years, in the next 30 to 50 years, we're going to see devastation around this planet. So it's stuff that our kids and our grandchildren are going to really experience. So the other thing that I really like about this is that if you had a heart attack, would you go to a heart surgeon or a dentist? Now, personally speaking, if I was going to go and get my heart examined, or was going to have surgery on my heart, I'd go to a heart surgeon. I wouldn't go to a dentist. What the oil companies are doing is using dentists to talk about climate change. They don't have the information, they're not the people to listen to. These are the people to listen to. And they are the climate change scientists around the world. 97% out of 100% say climate change is real and it's caused by humans. It's caused by CO2 emissions. There's no doubt about this. This is real and it's happening right now. But because people are living, or powerful people are living in this false reality and this addictive behavior, they're trying to convince us that profit at all costs is what's actually important. So how do we change this? The first thing that we need to do is to look at our entire financial structures and how they actually work. Because at the moment what we do is we've got a linear production system and bottom line reporting systems which just do not work for the size of our population. We started off, it took us 2.5 million years to get to a population of 1 billion. In the last 100 years we've gone from 1 billion to 7. In the next 50 we're going to go from 7 to 10. And in 100 years we could go from 7 to 14 billion people. That's double the amount of people in 100 years on this planet. We cannot continue to pollute our water, air and soils because they are the things that keep us alive. And they are going to be destroyed really quickly for the next generation unless we move. So at the moment we use linear production systems, which means we take a raw resource, we then manufacture something, we create pollution when we manufacture it, we then sell it through a retail outlet, the consumer buys it and it goes to landfill. Now in our consumer society it's designed to go to landfill as quickly as possible, so we go back and we buy more products, so we consume more. So it's actually designed to go to landfill. That's the whole purpose. We could design these products to last a lifetime, but that wouldn't make sense for our system that we have at the moment. Now, the bit that's really unfair about that is that we actually pay for the product, but we also pay for the damage that these products create. We pay for the environmental damage, we pay for the social damage. If these companies had to pay for their own damage, would they be profitable? And that's the big question, because we don't really have a clear idea whether these companies are truly profitable at the moment, because we're paying for all the costs. They're not paying for the costs. So what we see as a way forward, or a better way of living, which is what Element magazine is all about, which I'm going to get into, is the triple bottom line. Now this is a business system where we're saying that business is the driving force behind creating a healthy planet. And you need to find a balance between your social and environmental damages and your profit. And if you find a balance between all three, then you're sustainable. And it's only when we actually make these guys pay for the social damages that they're creating that we're going to create this healthy society that we need. Now, a successful company on the triple bottom line would make a positive difference to society while making profit at the same time. That's where we need to get to if we're going to have a population of 14 billion people. We can't continue to sell products that create social damage like alcohol and cigarettes, and we can't continue to create products that destroy the very things that sustain us. It doesn't make sense. Now the good thing is that the Dow Jones have now released a sustainability index, which is a triple bottom line sustainability portfolio index, and it's outperforming a lot of the normal assets, so it's doing really well. And in South Africa now they have an integrated reporting system which they've now not legislated, but they're making it mandatory. So all businesses now have to report on the social and environmental damage that they're creating. So once we start doing this for a long time, we're going to really start getting a transparency around the companies that are worth supporting and the ones that aren't. The ones that are financially viable when you look at the whole cost and life cycle of the products, and the ones that aren't. So there's also this idea of conscious capitalism. Now this is a really, really simple idea. So capitalism is based on the idea that we need constant financial growth of linear production systems which use a finite resource and destroy it and make a landfill. And that just doesn't make any sense. If we only focus on the bottom line, it doesn't make any sense. So the principles of conscious capitalism is, first of all, you have a conscious leader who realizes that his business is there to do something more than just make money, okay? And they bring this concept then to create a conscious culture within their employees. So yeah, we're here to make money, but we're here to make the world a better place. How are we going to do that as an employees and as a business? How can we do that? So they need a higher purpose, and that's recognizing that, yeah, you're here to make money, but you're here to do an awful lot more than make money. You're here to have a higher purpose in life. And we spend most of our time working, so we need to have a higher purpose in life and our work. And then there's also stakeholders orientation. Now this is when you look at an entire impact that your business has on your employees, greater society, and then the ecosystems that sustain society, because you can't destroy them because they keep people alive, and if they go, you're not going to have a business. You know, it's that simple. Oh, I'm sorry, just to say, one of the key things behind this is, what is the intent of your business? What is the purpose of your business? When you're starting a business up, or when you're working in a business, what is it that you're actually trying to achieve? Find your hired purpose, and if you can do that, you can help and make transformation. Now this is a new thing that's come out as well, called closed loop production, or cradle to cradle, and it's a basic idea that you use products that are either recycled in the technosphere or the biosphere, and you never cross them over. So man-made products like plastics are kept in a technosphere recycling loop, and then biological products are kept in their own recycling loop. Now the basic concept is that waste equals food. It took me a really long time for this to really sink in, because this is a huge solution to the problems that we face, and it's really simple. If something creates waste that can't be recycled in one of these two loops, you simply don't use it. It's as simple as that. So you design a product from the very start that's designed to be recycled in continuous loops, is designed to make a positive difference to society, is designed to make the environment a better place, and it's designed to make money. It's not that hard. We can achieve this. We've just never had the intent or the will to do it before. So if we actually start doing this, we can create change. So this system would solve an awful lot of the waste problems that we face in the world. And this is a quote. If you have a chance to see William McDonough ever speak, please go and see him. He's astonishing. But he says, "I believe we can accomplish great and profitable things with a new conceptual framework, one that values our legacy, honors our diversity, and feeds our ecosystems and societies." That's it in a nutshell. If we can create businesses that do that, we are going to create a utopian society for the next generation, not a disaster society, which is what we're doing at the moment. Now, ecological design, there's also a thing called permaculture, which is a system design. It's an ecological design system designed to enhance the ecosystems in which we live. So rather than take away from them, we build a house that actually helps the place that the house is. We create a business, it makes the area better rather than worse. Now, it's a very, very complicated system, and it's fabulous, and it works. Another one then is biomimicry, which is quite fascinating stuff, where science and technology are imitating nature and trying to figure out how we can do things that work just like nature. Like a spider, for example, takes a biomaterial and makes something as strong as steel out of it. So how can we figure out what nature is doing, and how can we copy that using science and technology? Now, the good thing is that all the problems we face in life can be resolved through good design and basic ethics. When we look inside ourselves and see what we really want to do with our lives and what we want to do for our children, we can change things. It'll give us the power and the will to change things, and we need to tap into that. And that's getting back to that spirit thing again. No one wants to talk about it, but it's something we really need to find. We need to get in touch with our inner selves and inner spirits to actually bring that out into the world and make a difference. Now, I'm going to quickly talk to you about Element Magazine, which is a product that we've created with the New Zealand Herald to create social change. And this is using media to change people's minds, and specifically the Herald readers' minds, around sustainability and health. It's the first mass reach health and sustainability publication in the country, and it's doing very well for us at the moment. Now, the basic idea is it's broken down into the triple bottom line, so it's healthy business, healthy world, and healthy society. That's what we're talking about. And the key thing for our message is that sustainability equals health. It's the long-term health of our species. That's what this is about. It's not a green thing. That's rubbish. It's not about being green. This is all about being healthy. And it's all about creating a better way of living, which is the tagline for Element Magazine. Now, within the first 12 months, we've won Best New Product internationally at the 2012 International News Media Marketing Awards. So we were playing against some really heavy hitters, and we took that award away. And we're also the best read sustainability publication in New Zealand within 12 months. So we're doing quite well for ourselves so far. This is having a quick look at some of the broad qualitative readership groups. So this is when we looked at the Herald readers to see what their frame of mind was before we start writing it, so we could talk directly to these different groups. Now, the good news is that the mainstream New Zealanders will do whatever they think is the mainstream thing to do. So if you make them think health and sustainability is a mainstream thing, they'll just automatically do it. But they're not going to push on ahead and do it unless they feel everyone else is doing it as well. So they'll recycle, they won't drink and drive, they put their seatbelts on, they won't smoke inside. So all the things that we now think are the norm, they will do this. We then get techies. So the techies are interested in sustainability very much from the future technology and how it's actually kicking off. And they're not really in the green space that much, but here we go again, another stop. Hello. And these are my little kids over here. So this is the reason why I'm doing this. Because once I had kids, I had a change in me, and I said, I can't carry on doing this. And I sell ads for a living. That's what I do. It's the most meaningless existence you could possibly have, and I'm trying to use that to do something that's social good. And everybody, like powerful people out there, politicians, if they actually try and get out of their own greed and do something worthwhile for the planet, they can really do something amazing quite quickly. But they need to have the will to do it. Now, when we dig in as well, there was this group that we found at the Herald Readers we call them Outdoorsy New Zealanders. Now these guys are hilarious because they're hardcore, I'm going out to shoot myself a pig kind of guys. Don't call them green, but they are really passionate about conserving the water and air and keeping the forest clean. So they're great guys, you know, but don't call me green. Then you've got Back to Basics New Zealanders, so they want to live a bit more like their grandma did, and they want to become more self-resilient and learn how to sow and feed themselves and stuff like that. Then Concerned New Zealanders, the big trigger for this group is that they have kids, and then they become concerned about the future for those kids. And as we go along here to the right, they're getting more and more empowered to make a difference. So once you have kids, that's a huge trigger to go out there and create change. And then you've got active greens. Now most of the active greens will actually move into an area where they're working in this area to try and make the world a better place, because it becomes the main thing for them. And within APN, one of the marketing managers that came on board to help with Element, it influenced her to such an extent that she realised this is what she wants to do with her life, and she went off to become the marketing manager for Greenpeace. So once you get involved in this and you realise that you can make money while making a difference, it becomes quite contagious, and it's hard to go back to being a normal day-to-day job again. Now, the big thing about the publication that we're doing with Element is that the majority of readers are not seeking the information at the moment, so they don't look for it online, they don't look for it in print. So we put this magazine in front of them and they're going, oh, this is great, this is what the sustainability thing is about. So we're actually influencing a group of people who aren't looking for the information, and we're changing their behaviour habits. And that's what this whole project is about, and we're analysing the change that we're making to them, which is quite the interesting bit. So when we dig a bit deeper using a thing called Consumers of Care, and we're getting a bit advertising speak now, but it's a database that they use to analyse what people or how people consume media. We find that we've got two groups which are really the trailblazers, and they're wealthy parents and business decision makers. These people are the people who are really backing Element and getting behind it, and they're the highest part of our readership, but they're also the ones who have the money to make the change and buy the products and do all the stuff we need to do. So this quote for me really sums up the whole thing. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe that they are free. Now this really, really gets it for me, because we are living in a delusional reality, and I keep saying that. This is not reality. Money is not more important than the long-term survival of our species. Climate change is so real. It's unbelievably real, and it's happening right now, and it's caused by oil. That's reality. Companies instead of people need to pay for the social and environmental damage that they're creating. Once that happens, that's the thing that's going to create the massive transition. All the problems that we face are actually solvable. All we need is the will. Everything is in place around the world to transform the planet. All we're lacking is the will to do so. We just need to find that will inside us and go out and do it. And this is the bit that I'm involved with. Media creates culture, and addicts are victims of culture. And it takes a little while for that to sink in. We are at a crossroads in our lives where we can either take a right and carry on as we are, believing that money is more important than air, water and soils, or we can take the left and embrace conscious capitalism, transform this planet into a utopian future for our children, and show everyone that there is a better way of living. So thank you very much for listening to me speak, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.